Welcome back. Let's talk about the Azure Data Factory, ADF. What is ADF? ADF is a ETL tool, like on-prem SSIS. In SSIS, what we do is we extract, transform, and load. We'll do ETL activity using SSIS or integration service on Visual Studio. The same kind of thing we have done, we can do in Azure using Data Factory, Azure Data Factory. But not only the ETL, but also we can do the ELT activity, which is extract, load, and transformation. So ETL and ELT both we can do. The good thing about the Azure Data Factory is it can support SSIS, Integration Runtime, cloud, and on-prem as well. We will take a look. Since this is the overview for Azure Data Factory, we'll covering the main item regarding Azure Data Factory here. So ETL, if you need to work on ETL, Azure Data Factory is the go-to tool. This is what I try to say here. So the next use case or scenario for Azure Data Factory. What are the cases to use the Azure Data Factory, right? Cloud data migration is one for migration. Build the ETL or ELT pipeline and data for data warehousing. We can do ETL or ELT both. Real-time data ingestion or processing. Hybrid data integration like on-prem and or cloud. We can do hybrid data integration through the Data Factory. I'll show you how in the next. And we can do the machine learning through the pipeline, through the Data Factory. And also we can do the business intelligence and reporting activity from these data factories. All right, so these are the main components. So we'll be deep dive in each component. So for now, let's see the component of ADF, Azure Data Factory. We need to know this component very clearly. So let's start from the we'll be discussing link services. We'll be talking about the data sets. We'll be talking about the activities. What is activity? We'll be talking about pipeline. We'll be talking about the trigger. We'll be talking about the control flows. We'll be talking about the integration runtime. We'll be talking about the parameter. So these are the component for ADF. So whenever we say the ADF, these are the component. All right. So in picture, I can show you where this link server, dataset, activity, pipeline, trigger, control flow, integration runtime, and parameter will fit on ADF. And then let me quickly show you one picture. So right here is the ADF architecture. So this is what our source in right hand side. This is our source. We can have various source on-prem or on cloud from the blob storage. Various type of source we can have. And for destination, destination is called the target or sink. We can have the Azure SQL or many other platform like CSV file, or is destination, source and destination. In between, we have what we have. We have the link server here. Link server is nothing but the connection manager in SSIS packages, right? Once we establish the link server, we have to create the dataset. So dataset is our source file. That is something called the dataset source file. We need to configure the dataset. Once we have the dataset, data source configured, we will be building the activities. So what we want to do, we maybe want to do the copy activity, or we want to do some execution, step procedure execution activity. Maybe we want to do some kind of lookup activity. Maybe we want to do some kind of some other activity, filtering activity, things like that, right? There are many activity like SSIS transformation thing. It's just like the on ETL in transformation, we can do those transformation using activity. Once activity is completed, we can combine those activity through as a pipeline. Pipeline is like control flow tags. Pipeline is nothing but the control flow. We can say just like that in data flow and control flow, right? So data flow is activity basically in SSIS. Control flow is pipeline. And then trigger are basically the jobs, like schedule, when we can schedule. So these are basic the overview. This is our architecture of Data Factory. So I'm gonna show you quickly how link server work, dataset work, activity will work, pipeline work, and trigger will work. I'm gonna demo that using Azure Data Factory pretty soon. So we'll be going each one of each step: link server, dataset, activity, pipeline, trigger, source, and destination, one at a time, right? So I'm come back with this. Link server again is it is just connection information, connection manager. Dataset is representation of the data used in pipeline, right? And activities are all tasks, copy activity, data flow activity, other transformation. Pipeline is group of activity like control flow, right? Trigger is run the pipeline basically. We can schedule daily, monthly, weekly as a job. Control flow again is just like pipeline. There is another tax called the control flow. We can have if statement. We can manage various other work. I'll show you what we can do through the control flow. Integration runtime is again is another word to set up the compute. There will be cloud integration versus on-prem integration. We can set up based on our need, and then there is another component called the parameter, where we can add ETL work or data flow work as a parameterized, run with a parameterized process. So there is this kind of component are the ADF component. So let's start from the link service. What is link service, right? Link service is basically connection manager, connection string in SSH packages. I'm going to quickly go to my ADF, and then I'll show you what link service is. So for that, I'm going to go to the Microsoft Azure here, and then I'm going to search ADF data factories. And then I already created the data factory. If not, I am going to show you how I can create the data factory quickly here, right? So if you do not have the data factory, you can click on create new data factory. You have to give the resource group. If you have already, I have the delete RG already created on my resource group. Resource group is like a project box. So anything you are working for that project, you have to create those items with that the resource group. And I'm going to give the data factory name like delete data factory like this. Then I'm going to have the data factory is already taken. I'm going to have 2. Region is 2 and version is B2. So this version B2 is available. For GitHub, we will configure later. For networking, I'm going to give not the private network but the public endpoint for now. In advance, I'm not going to give the tag review and create, and these will be creating, the data factory will be creating. So right now is just submitted for the data factory creation. It's currently deployment in progress. Deployment completed. So I can go to that resource, and let me wait a little bit. Once that is completed, it will show up here. This is what I have created earlier. So I can let me refresh that dashboard. So this is my previous ADF. This is just another ADF I created, data factory. So I can open this new ADF, and I can launch that ADF. Azure Data Factory. Once it launches, what we are talking about? We are talking about link service right now, right? So we have to create the link service by going manage tab on data factory. So in order to create the link service, we have to click on this manage tab, click on manage, and then there will be the link services selected. And you have to create the link using a new link service using click on new. All right, so we have this is just like a connection manager, right? So in order to create the connection manager, we have varieties of option available on to create the link server. Let's see if you want to create the link server using data lake storage gen 2, which is commonly used on our work. So let me give the LIP delete data lake link service, just like that, right? I can give the additional information as a description, and there is create the integration runtime. Integration runtime is automatically selected auto resolve integration runtime, which is for cloud or to connect the cloud activity. If you want to connect the on-prem, you have to create the new integration runtime called, let me see, self-hosted integration runtime. So if you need to connect to your on-prem environment, you have to create the new integration runtime as a self-hosted integration runtime. For now, I need to connect Azure only, so I'm going to give this one. Authentication type, there is a multiple authentication type. We can have account key, SAS, since service principal, manage identity, and manage identity. We'll be deep dive on this later on. For now, I'm going to keep the Azure account key. And then for account selection method, once you select the account key, we have 2 options. One is you can select from the Azure subscription. Another is enter manually, which is if you have your storage, if your data in your local environment or on-prem environment, you have to provide that manually right here. But since I'm gonna use my Azure Data Factory to connect to create the link server, I'm gonna select this one, and I have to select my subscription. So subscription, I'm gonna select it, and the link server, Azure storage, I'm gonna create one storage I can create the storage from by going here, and then let me see. Just URAG storage account, and I can create my own storage. But for now, I'm going to use one of these already existing storage, like PKEST16, right? So I'm going to use PKEST16 as my storage right here, and then there you go. This is how we create the link server. The link server has been created. So this is our link server. All right. So that's the one component to create the link server in Azure Data Factory. Like I said, there is a two type of integration runtime while you creating the link server. One is for cloud, that is Azure Integration Runtime. For on-prem, there is self-hosted integration runtime. There's two type of integration runtime, Azure and self-hosted integration runtime, to connect to make the hybrid, right? So the like we told, ADF is hybrid, support the hybrid environment. So in order to support the hybrid environment, we can create the integration runtime and in both ways. The next, we're going to talk about the dataset. So dataset is another component on Data Factory. So dataset is just like a name, is just refer to your data. So if I go to my Data Factory, let me go to my Data Factory. I can go to how do I see that Data Factory is I can go to this link like author, and then I can anything I can. So if you go, we already created the link server. Now we can do this dataset, data flow, pipeline, Data Factory, and things like that. We are talking about the dataset, right? Dataset is right here. So you can go and right click and create the new dataset, or you can do plus here and you can create the dataset. So in order to create the dataset, you have to go to that link server. All right. So for that, let's select we create the link server using the Gen2, and let's say if I have the file in CSV format, I can select that CSV format. And then let's rename that dataset. Delete dataset, CSV dataset. CSV dataset, right? And then I'm going to choose the link server here. If not, I have to create the link server from here as well. And I can choose the file. I can go to here, and let me go to the dataset. Let me go to the input folder. Let's see input. Let me have the input EMP as my source file, right? And then I can create. So and then you have the option, the first row header. You can choose if your file has a row header, you can choose on. If not, you can select unselect it. And then import schema. There is a couple of options here, right? So I can click on OK. So this is your dataset, your source dataset. You can do more on this in this dataset. So we just configure the dataset. As of now, we created what we have done. We have created link service and dataset. The next is data flow. So data flow is ETL, exact ETL. So we have the source configured right now. Now we can do extract, transform, and load. How we can do that is on ADF. We can do a data flow activity and create the new data flow from here, or you can click on plus and then create the new data flow. So these are the data flow. So let's say if I want to have my dataset in the source, let's say delete CSV in source is going to be the dataset this, and I can choose delete CSV as my source. So it's already detected my data source as a source. Now what we can do many other. Now you can do other like activity. Like if you click on this plus here, you have join, union, select, aggregation, pivot, rank, and things like that. You can do many things, just like we are doing in SSS packages, right? All right. So at the end, let's say I have done everything, and if I want to add in sync at the destination is our sync. So for I have to configure the sync. We'll probably come back with the destination topics, but this is how we can configure a source and destination as a data flow, right? What other component we have? We have the other activity. So activity is just like a data flow tags, right? Activity, there are multiple activity, like you can do lookup, you can do delete activity, you can do execute pipe activity, you can do store procedure activity to run the store procedure, you can do all the script edit script, you can do validation, those kind of activity you can do it in activity section. The last item is pipeline. So pipeline is again since we have the data flow tags or copy activity or any other activities, we can have those in pipeline. So how do I do that, right? So we have the another pipeline. So let's say this is our source and destination data flow. We wanted to run this activity through the pipeline, right? So in order to do that, let me do dataset CSV dataset. So it is configured. Then let me go to the pipeline. Let me create the pipeline. One quick pipeline. This is the ILI with the PIP. So delete pipeline. So the pipeline, what is pipeline again? If you get confused, I have showed you pipeline is we are here. So we create a link service, we create the data set, we create the activity. Now we have to create the pipeline to combine these activities. Once we combine this activity, then we can create the trigger. Right. All right. So we are in pipeline tab. Let's do move and transfer. Let's on pipeline. Let's bring the. We can have the copy activity. We can have the data flow activity or any other activity. Since we have the data flow activity we created, now I can bring this data flow and I can name this data flow as delete data flow. Right. So for setting, you can select the data flow one. If you want to configure any parameter, you can do so here, and if not, you can keep it simple using this. So this is our this is our pipeline. This is our pipeline. With this pipeline, we can validate the pipeline, we can debug the pipeline, we can trigger the pipeline, we can schedule the pipeline, right? So we can schedule this job. All right, we are at the pipeline. We have covered activity, we have covered pipeline, and we have ControlFlow tab as well. And also we can do all those parameter activity, just like we have been doing in SSH packages. Okay, so this is what I wanted to quickly cover about the Azure Data Factory overview. So this is Azure Data Factory overview video, right? So I just quickly show you what is a link server, how to create it, what is dataset, how to create it, what is activity, and how to create that, what is pipeline, how to create it, what is trigger, and how to create it, what is source, what is destination. And this is all about Azure Data Factory. This is all about Azure Data Factory. This is basically the ETL tool, and this is available for a hybrid approach to do cloud and on-prem data set or data migration activity. Okay, I think this is pretty much I wanted to cover in this video as a data factory overview video. Thank you for watching. We'll be deep dive on this on Azure Data Factory with another video as well. Thank you so much. Bye for now.